it will not be complete to talk about network without looking at the devices that makes up these networks. So we're going to look at the components of a network. What are these devices that in turn makes this network work? We're going to be splitting these devices in two categories. The first category is the end devices, and the second category will be the transit devices. So when we say end devices, these are devices that can start up communication and as well terminate that communication. This communication at the end devices do not leave the end device to go to any other device. It ends there. That's why we call it end devices. Example of end devices are such as your laptops, your phones, your IP phones. These are simple examples of end devices, devices that can start up communication and end the communication as well. Another example of end devices are servers. These are devices that processes the requests that you make over a network, such as your web servers, your SIP servers, your email servers, your VPN servers. These are end devices that helps to process the requests made by other end servers. Now, talking about transit devices, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because transit devices, there are so many out there. Now, under transit devices, we are going to be looking at switching devices. We are going to look at routing devices, and as well, we're going to be looking at security devices on a network. Transit devices here means that the data do not end at that device, but it is meant to be moved along from that device to the next device up to the time it reaches an end device. A transit device on a network helps to move data along the path towards the destination that that data is supposed to go. Let's take a look at switching devices. Switching devices under transitory devices are devices that their sole function is to move along the data towards the next available destination. They do not concern heavily with inter-network operation. They do not concern heavily with security of the data. A clear example of these devices are network switches and access points. These devices try as much as possible to move the data along to the next end device, irrespective of how far the end device is. Access points, on the other hand, try to do this over wireless, whereas a switch tries to do it over cabled connection. So, looking at routing devices under transit devices, routing devices are devices that their sole function is to move data from one network to the next, from a sending network to the destination network. Their main role comes in play when data has to move in between two separate networks. Examples of these devices are routers, load balancers, and proxies. They concern themselves majorly with how can data be moved from one network segment belonging to probably one company to another network segment probably belonging to another company. So that is routing devices. The network operation is their main role. The last type of transit devices that we're going to look at is the security device. Security devices' main function is to secure your network. They secure how data moves in and out of your network. That is their sole purpose. They try to provide a security wall for any data that crosses into your network for inspection. Examples of these devices are firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and as well intrusion prevention systems. Now that we have talked about the different components that makes up a network, let us now ask a few questions and see whether you understand what I mean. This is an IP camera. Is it an end device or a transit device? Now, if you say it's an end device, then you are correct. The communication can start from this device and it can as well be terminated on this device. A simple question again can be, this device, is it a transit device or an end device? By the way, this is a Cisco switch. Is it an end device or a transit device? If you say it's a transit device, then you are correct. But next is, what kind of transit device is it? It is a switching transit device. So keep it in mind anytime you are looking at a network device to determine whether you are looking at an end device or a transit device. If it's a transit device, also ask yourself, what type of transit device is that? Is it switching, routing, or a security device? Or both, possibly. All right, that will be all for now. I'll see you in the next part.